Today, we're going to be looking at the recent StarCitizen patch and, all the craziness that comes with those. We're focusing specifically on the Aegis Redeemer. It's a roller coaster. So the Redeemer, it got hit pretty hard in the nerf department. I think a lot of people felt like it was maybe a little overpowered, so the developers wanted to kind of bring it back down to earth a little bit. So the two big things that changed were the guns and the shields. So they downgraded the S5 guns down to S4s. And then they swapped out 2 of the S3 shields for 6 S2 shield. Yeah, and the reactions have been all over the place. I mean, some people are just absolutely furious. They're saying it's a huge loss of firepower, that the ship feels significantly weaker, and they're even drawing comparisons to the Starlancer attack. And it's selling at the same price point. People who bought the Redeemer are like, wait a minute, I just bought this ship, you nerfed it, and now there's this other ship that's basically the same as what I had before. It's the same price. Like, they were incentivized to buy this ship that was intentionally overpowered, only for it to be nerfed a few months later. Is this just a balancing act, or is there something else going on here? This is a calculated strategy to kind of encourage players to constantly be chasing the meta, to be upgrading to the latest and greatest ship. Yeah, and it's a valid concern because these are not cheap. We're talking about ships that are hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. So when they get nerfed, it feels like a very tangible loss, both in terms of gameplay and financial value. It's a complex issue for sure. And, they're running a live service game. There's always that tension between those two things. Some people are embracing the new reality. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out in the long run. Still early days. You got the denial, the anger, the bargaining, maybe even a little acceptance starting to creep in for some. But I think there's a deeper layer to this. It goes beyond just the ship itself. It's about the feeling of being heard, of having your investment respected. StarCitizen, with its long development cycle and its reliance on community funding, it's always had this very unique dynamic. Every change, every perceived nerf, it just taps into this underlying anxiety. Like, is this it? Is this the moment my ship becomes obsolete? Am I going to have to spend even more money? People are comparing the nerfed Redeemer to newer models, pointing out discrepancies in firepower, durability, even aesthetics. Like they're trying to rationalize this loss, trying to make sense of why their beloved ship suddenly feels less desirable. And that's where the psychology of it all gets really fascinating. It's not just about the numbers, the stats. Do they feel like their investment is secure? And these feelings, they're often unspoken, and they could have a huge impact on the community's perception of the game. If players start to feel like they can't trust the value of their in-game purchases, if they feel like every ship they buy is just a temporary placeholder until the next big thing comes along, it could have a chilling effect on their willingness to invest further. So it's a delicate ecosystem. I think it's important to remember that even though there's a lot of anger and frustration right now, it comes from a place of love. And ultimately, I think that passion is what's going to drive this game forward and hopefully lead to a truly remarkable experience for everyone involved. It's interesting, looking through these comments, you see some players starting to think long term. And they're worried that this whole Redeemer situation might set a precedent, that this pattern of nerfing older ships to make way for these new shiny models could become the norm. And the community's reaction, I think it's safe to say that this is just one chapter in a much larger story. The game is evolving, the meta is shifting, and there will be more twists and turns along the way. But one thing is clear. The StarCitizen community, they are passionate, they are engaged, and they are deeply invested in the future of this game. And that's a good thing.